Heya, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the Secret Hot Tub Podcast. I'm Gavin, and this episode we're going to have a nice chat to Ed Pirrie, who's one of my favourite artists and people. And we will have Ed back on the show at some point to laugh it up. But this was a quick catch-up, so thanks to Ed for his time. I also put out a call for questions for podcast mailbag. I was arrogant enough to do that. So I'm putting them into a randomizer. We'll answer 2 or 3 questions after each interview or however we're going to do it. If you want to ask a question, make a statement, whatever, send it to askrepugnus@gmail.com or message me through the Patreon at patreon.com/TRDQ. I'm also on Blue Sky. I'll try and put them all into one big bowl. If I miss yours out, fucking dry your eyes. Don't worry about it. So hang around until the end of the show for those, and we'll see you on the other side. But for now, let's have a chat to Ed Pirrie. Hello, and welcome to the Secret Hot Tub Podcast brought to you by TRDQ.org. I'm Gavin, and with me today is an arrogant bastard who would be nothing without that hat. Wait a minute. That's my intro for when I interview the police next month. My guest today is easily one of the most versatile and talented artists I've ever seen and had the pleasure to know. A contributor to some of our favourite comic series, The Transformers, Godzilla, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. They're also a big piece of the magic at TF Nation events. It's superstar artist Ed Pirrie. Ed, hello.
Hello, Gareth. How are you?
I'm not too bad. We're recording this just before Christmas.
Yes.
But I'm thinking this episode will probably come out or drop, which is an industry term, Ed, in the new year. But do you have any Christmas traditions or any holiday traditions coming up?
Only to stare at your face over a webcam and hope for what could be.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, Ed. I'm not going to be available on the big day.
Well, you never are emotionally.
I've got mass. It's a 12-hour mass. What do you want me to do? So I think, Ed, you and I met. I think it was the last auto assembly, which was my first convention, maybe.
A good few years ago now, yeah.
Yeah, a good while back. We'd agreed on before we came to the convention on what might be the most one-sided art swap of all time. You did me an incredible IDW Cyclonus. It still hangs on my wall in my office in a frame next to Guido Guidi's Cyclonus art. But can you remember what horseshit I drew for you?
I absolutely can. I just asked for a warpath in your own style, and you delivered.
Fuck. Well,
he was a BAM pal, and he's in my folder with all my others.
Oh man, so not on the wall framed then, no?
No, I have no wall space. I have no.
That's not true. I'm looking at your webcam right now. You could get it underneath that light switch.
That's true. It'd be the only room there for
I know. I keep looking. I've got so much original art now. Not that I'm bragging, but
bragging rights.
I feel so guilty about it because I'm looking. I've got like K-Zama covers and stuff where I'm like, I could get that up on the wall.
Oh, okay, you're so good.
Easily, but I'd say we're talking in top 5s. Let's say. I mean, you're in there, Ed. Don't get me wrong, but they're definitely my number one all timer. I just can't get enough of their stuff. I'm looking at one of their covers right now for Optimus Prime 15 that I managed to get from under the nose of one Andrew D. Turnbull, which is good.
That's a feat. Andrew normally gets in pretty quick with these things.
You can't always get what you want, and he needs to learn that, Ed.
I know he does. He needs to step back, take a breath.
Take a breath, for God's sake. Like in terms of drawing, like you're a well-known artist in the community, and I personally find drawing, doodling, sketching something that gives me real, genuine like peace and quietens my mind. And oftentimes, I find the end result for me is like often secondary to that process and what I get out of it. Like what do you, as an artist, how do you view that in terms of what do you get out of your art? Like what do you get out of that process?
Oh man, there's a question. It's starting off tough.
I told you I'm not gonna fart around. Sorry for the language, but
no problem. To be honest, it's been quite a while since I've ever just sat and drawn for myself, for the fun, for the relaxation,
for pleasure.
I mean, it's always pleasurable, but it's also a measure of responsibility to it as well. A lot of the time now, so. But definitely, back in the day, it was just like the satisfaction of seeing something come together and getting something finished.
Mm-hmm.
pretty much what drove me to do stuff.
See, I feel that when people say, especially as it's coined by or attributed to bad bastard Vince McMahon, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't think that's necessarily true.
No, not at all.
Yeah, if you're like drawing, oh, I get to draw Transformers, and they're like, okay, scene page 1 and 2, it's a splash page, it's a battle between the Autobots and Decepticons in space.
Yeah, it's got 65 characters.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, I mean, your page rate stays the same, I imagine, whether you're drawing 2 characters on a page or 65. So you're
Yeah,
like,
well,
screw this.
exactly.
Like you've been quite active behind the scenes as well. Like you've been at TF Nation as someone who helps with the organization of it and the running of the convention, but also
Yeah,
as a guest as well.
yeah. Behind the scenes, I'm more of a like creative drive, I guess. People come to me and say, "Oh, wouldn't this be a good idea?" Or "Can you make us something like this?" And I'll pretty much just get it done, like any of the graphics you see for the guests advertised, or any panel logos that you'll see on the t-shirts or anything like that. That's usually me.
Oh,
Not always, but usually. Um,
do you get that little thing at the cons when you walk by? And I mean, are you jaded by it now? Where you go, you look at something, and go, I drew that. Check it out. That's me. I did that. Or are you like, of course I did it. I'm Ed Pirrie.
well, not quite the latter, but somewhere between the two. Yeah. I tend to not really notice, and then I finish the show, and I'll be like, I didn't really. Did anybody buy that? Did anybody wear that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes by too quickly. Like it's
Yeah.
it's exhausting, and I wouldn't like it to be longer than it is probably. But also, it goes by so quickly that yeah, you tend to miss out the finer details.
Yeah.
But you've also been a guest at the con, so in
I
terms
have.
of it must be quite a gratifying feeling to.
It's very strange. Very, very strange. Uh, they always kind of have to convince me to do it, to be honest, like
Right.
Billy and the guys and gals. Everyone tells me I deserve it, but it's very hard to feel that way, you know?
Look, I promised myself I wouldn't get into this kind of thing because if it was that, it would be me just building you up for like 90 minutes because you do deserve it. Your artwork's incredible,
Well, thank you
and
very much.
yeah, like I've often said that, and if it was down to, I'd be like, right, you're going to raise your commission prices by 50%. You're going to do, you're going to
It's all such hard work, man. It's all hard work.
Oh, I bet, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even looking at the stuff like that, I mean, that Cyclonus you did for me 10 years ago.
Wow.
Like that's almost like a decade ago now, and it's still incredible to me. Like a lot of times when you see an artist, you go like, yeah, you see an artist perform above and beyond. They grow, they get better, they change their styles, perhaps, or all that other stuff, and you see the improvement in artists. But the thing that annoys me about your art is that I can look back on something from 10 years ago and still say that's fucking excellent. I look
I'm
back at
glad
mine
you
10 years ago and I'm like, oh, fuck that.
Hey, Toby.
Yeah, so as many of the podcast listeners will know, Toby, my dog, is always around and ready to howl at the merest noise. So we're just going to have to deal with him, I'm afraid.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't get in the tub with us, we're fine.
Yeah, exactly. The I've kind of lost the hot tub angle a little bit. I need to bring that back a bit more. Some more bubble jets and soap metaphors and things like that. So like you've done work in comics, you've included some interior work, you've done colors, you've done covers.
Okay.
In particular, my favorite, I had to tell you my favorite, which is for issue 41 of the Transformers series. So you've got Blitzwing, Apeface, Snaptrap, Lugnut, Obsidian, and Striker, who's punching Computron in the face.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a
Yeah.
fun one. And it got well received, that one.
The question is, like, have you been reading my dream journal?
Yeah, I just drew the characters that were in the boat, man. So you want to talk to Brian Rockley about that? But
Honestly, I was like, these are all my favorite characters on one page. This is crazy.
I was definitely thinking of you when I was drawing a couple of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I imagine that's true of most comic stuff that you draw.
Well, I'm thinking of you most of the time, let's be honest.
So, like, we're going to get to the end of the show, obviously, at some point. We're going to ask the big fan favourite question that everyone's dying to hear. Of course we are. Of course we'll get there.
I'm
Damn it.
sure.
If everyone
Eventually.
could just calm down who's listening, I'd appreciate it. But I know you're also a big Godzilla fan, too.
Oh, yes. I am, yes. I would say
It's...
Godzilla is actually my first fictional love.
Oh,
Yeah. My earliest memories are around Godzilla, and it's just always been in my life. Not always like to the same degree as other things, because the nature of it being a Japanese niche show, there were
yeah.
decades where you didn't get anything. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not like a weekly update, or it's
No.
not airing daily on Saturday morning TV or something. Do you have a specific era of Godzilla or Godzilla type, or that's your favorite, or...
I really, really genuinely love it all, man. I would probably go back to the Showa era, which for the uninitiated is like the original 55 up to 75 era films, where
Yeah.
people generally consider it to be just like cardboard box cities and rubber
Mhm.
suits and wrestling, which is absolutely not what it was, but that's how people thought of it.
Yeah. Do you think that you like all, even the 1998 US Godzilla?
Oh, I have no problem with that. I was disappointed with it at the time, but it's God, almost 30 years old now. So
Yeah.
move on,
Yeah.
it's just part of the franchise. It's there. It's something that you can just look back and appreciate for what it didn't do.
I guess,
It's
like,
fine.
looking back, putting that in perspective there, yeah, you're like, when you were a kid, those original Showa era ones were as old as Godzilla 98 is now.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh god, that's a horrible thought.
Time is
Um,
just a horrible concept. We need to abandon it.
I know it stinks. Like, just going, like, again, people coming up to you at TF Nation and being like, "Oh, I remember I got you love animated. I love animated. I remember getting animated Bumblebee for my 5th birthday."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Listen, kid, fucking beat it. All right." I think I was like 30 when I got that toy.
Yeah, getting that.
Do you have a particular favorite Godzilla character or something outside of Godzilla themselves that you are fond of?
Okay, if I had a second favorite monster, it would be Gigan,
You like
because
Gigan? I'm a bit
yeah,
freaked out by Gigan.
big robot cyborg chicken with a chainsaw in his stomach. It's good
Yeah,
fun.
I always feel that it's like the nature of how it works always freaks me out a little bit. I think it's because I was so scared by the robot woman from Superman 3.
Yeah, that was a freaky thing.
Yeah.
Freaky thing.
I think a lot of it is like childhood traumas. I hated Circuit Breaker in the Transformers cartoons when she was in the hospital bed at the start and she's got all the mechanisms on her hands.
Yeah.
So maybe it's robot women that freak me out.
It's the invasion of the flesh by the mechanical, maybe you have a problem with.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit Tetsuo situation, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I quite like Hedora
Edder is fun.
because
Because
I relate to them as a huge mess.
I don't think you smell as bad.
We'll see. Day 2 or on the Monday morning after TFN might be different.
If people walk past your table and just turn into skeletons and drop, then they'll know that you're bad. Till then, Hedra's taking the crown.
It's finally happened. So it would be wild not to mention Ed gifted me possibly the greatest item anyone could ever receive at TF Nation just this year. They
And
commissioned
you
a
did the
giant...
same.
That's not true. I drew a daft picture for Ed. That's like... He
No,
gave
what
me...
you were saying about my Cyclonus earlier is like a tiny fraction of what I felt when I got that Godzilla off you,
Oh,
man. It's
well, I appreciate that. Thank
absolutely
you.
astounding work. You need to own it.
Well, you know what? You're right, because I keep telling you the same thing, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing it from people, because you've got a little bit of... what's the word? When you're like, shut up, guys. You've got humility, is what you've got.
Humility.
You've got humility. Yeah, I need to own it as well. That thing I drew was fantastic, but
It
it
was.
does it pales in comparison to you commissioned a human-sized Optimus Prime, animated Optimus Prime axe,
I did.
and I've got it in my office. I ordered little pegs that I'm going to be able to put it on the wall, like above where I am right now.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that. But like, what was the process behind that? Because you got it made by, his name's Tom, isn't it?
Yeah, Tom or Priminator on the
Priminator.
social medias.
Yep.
He literally just put out what are they calling them on Blue Sky? A skeet
A
or
skeet.
something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. But yeah, he put out basically word that he could do them if people wanted them. And there was those and a few other animated inspired 3D prints. I saw the X and I was like, Gav would adore that. I hope he
It's
hasn't
true.
seen it.
It's like I'd seen it, but then that way you're like, oh, I've seen it, but one of those like things. I'll never have that.
Yeah.
And then when I saw you had it at TFN, I felt like that's so cool, but I don't think I felt so jealous in years. Where I was like, son of a bitch, look at that, that's so cool. And then when you were like, this is for you, I nearly cried. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah, it lights up and everything, man.
Yeah, oh no, it's great. Like it's yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having it mounted where I can see it here. That'll remind me of better days, But if you don't mind me saying so, Ed, I mean, 2025 is going to be Ed Pirrie's year.
Gosh, if only. I've been waiting 40. I've been
Is there anything that you've currently unachieved or not achieved in comics, or something you'd like to work on that you've always fancied having a go at? Like if you could be given a dream project to work on, what do you think it would be?
probably something else with Godzilla. I did
Yeah.
one cover and I
Mhm.
did some color assist with my good friend John Paul Beauvais
Mhm.
on possibly the worst received IDW Godzilla comic of all time, but that was neither of our fault. So
No.
that book was struck by some massive deadline crunch, so I don't really think it was anybody's fault. But
Oh.
it's something to be known for.
Hey, listen. I mean, we worked together, albeit briefly, on the Transformers Trial and Error book for TF Nation.
Yes,
So
you, me, and the wonderful Hertzpalter.
yeah, so I know all too well what it's like to have poorly received.
No, but everybody loved that book.
Yeah, they
Well,
loved
you
your
did at
bits.
the time.
They loved you and Hertzpalter's bits, yeah, for sure. I've purposely not looked at it. I know very well what my skill level was when I was drawing that book. I did the inking in fucking Illustrator because I didn't have an iPad or anything to ink on at the time.
All right.
So that's why it may not look the best. I always keep thinking, maybe I'll go back and redo those pages. Then you think, you got to let them live as they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Make something new with your newfound skills.
No, that book was something today. Even today, I'm still massively proud of that. And our repeat performance a couple of years later, which the script reading.
Yeah. I don't know why I'd not, like, obviously I'd done for the trial and error book, I'd done sequentials and done actual comic pages, but I was more nervous about the script reading, even though I had much less to do. I just did a few stills, but knowing that these voice actors had contributed.
I know, man. Everyone pretty much except Tara Strong.
Yeah.
Came back and helped out, and such a big deal.
In that moment when Megatron's voice came through the speakers and just rumbled into everyone's seats. Like, oh.
You could see like the first 3 rows just melting.
It's so good. So do you think, like, when you're doing TF Nation stuff?
Yeah.
So the upcoming year, let's say, obviously it's always secretive. There's always a lot going on. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that you can't talk about, and I wouldn't ask because I know that, I can't. I'm not going to put you on the spot.
That's fun.
But when it comes to, like, you've got like the mini cons as well, the TF Nation
Oh yes,
mini cons. There's the next one's, I think, is it March?
Yeah, March in Manchester at the Pendulum Hotel.
Nice. Do you have an official capacity there? Are you going to be guesting, or
I will not be guesting, I don't think.
should be calling the shots?
No, I will either just be milling about as a guest, an attendee. It's not as a guest, sorry, as an attendee of the show. Maybe volunteer for it, depending on whether they need the bodies.
That's
But
good. The mini cons are always good. I think it's good for us in that regard because I usually only get to see you like once a year.
yeah,
So
sometimes not much either.
yeah, exactly. It's like a kind of hello, thank you for this very heartfelt, life changing gift. And then I'll see you maybe like in the bar or something. So the mini cons are good because they're quieter and there's still, you've got the opportunity to see people a bit more throughout the year, which I like.
Yes,
So I'm hoping we can get a bit of time together, as it were.
definitely. Some more dog racing in the dark.
Oh yeah. Oh god, I don't even want to go into it.
The
This is the
carnage.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Like the days of being up till like 4 o'clock in the morning at TF Nation are long gone, but
Mhm.
not forgotten. Um, so what folks love about this show, Ed, what people are clamoring for, they absolutely adore it. They can't get enough of it. Damn it, is stuff about Transformers. We're a Transformers channel.
Oh, really?
Um, for the most part, I tried to say it's about toys, but it's 99% Transformers. Uh, have you been around? Have you been around since the beginning?
Yeah, pretty much. I got an older brother, Ben, as you were aware.
I have met them
Uh,
once or twice. Yes.
he's like 4 years older than me, so
Mhm.
he was the perfect age when Transformers hit,
Right.
and I was a bit too young. But because my big brother had stuff, I was like, "Ah, what's this? I need to know." And then,
Yeah.
so he was getting a few of the toys a couple of years before I did. He was getting the comic, the UK version of the Marvel comics from issue 1 onwards,
Man, he was
and
like
I
an original
basically
influencer.
yeah, yeah, pretty much, and I'd just be along for the ride until I was old enough to actually understand any of it.
Yeah,
Then I try and steal it from him, obviously. That's what little brothers do.
of course.
But, no, it was,
Yeah,
I guess looking back, it was always the comic, the
yeah.
original Marvel UK comic for me.
Do you have a particular memory of like because I always remember I remember the circuit breaker thing. I remember where I was. I was in Airdrie, Main Street. I can't remember what age I was. I must have been like this is like a formative memory, and seeing circuit breaker, that moment where she zaps the thing from the hospital bed, and it freaked me out. And I remember exactly the spot I was standing in the street, and I still like we moved back to this town a couple of years ago, so I'm there quite often, and it always reminds me. I always go, "Oh, this is where I saw Circuit Breaker." um, do you have any like kind of formative memories, or like of getting a toy? Like, do you remember what your first Transformer toy was?
Um, been trying to work this out for the
Mm.
last couple of years, really. I believe my first was either Motormaster or Sludge.
Well, they're two belters to have as your first Transformer. That's incredible.
I could not tell you which. Like I say, my brother had been getting them a couple of years earlier,
Mhm.
and well, I guess just a year earlier at that point. But so they were just always around, and so
Does that mean Sludge is your
definitely just
favorite Dinobot?
yes, it is very close though, just because of what Simon Furman did with Grimlock in the comics made him pretty
Yeah.
pretty big deal to me. But the fact that I owned Sludge first, and the fact that he's Frank Welker, Frank Welker's awesome.
It's true. It is true. I think I've got a soft spot for it's hard to say. Like, obviously, you want to like you're like Grimlock's like the easy answer, but they are fantastic and they've had the most character development, and still a very valid choice to
Yes.
uh, choose that. But yeah, each one of them has their own unique little thing. It's a hard thing to pin down which Dinobot's the best. I did get
Mhm.
Swoop just there, the Studio Series one, and yeah, I was like, they shouldn't have released Swoop last. It's the one I care about the least.
I think I kind of had that same reaction to it. It's not bad. It's just okay.
Yeah,
I'm done now.
yeah, exactly.
Off, man.
I want it because it's the one I need to complete the set.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think. I mean, I'll get them all out of storage, put them all together on a shelf for like a week or two, and then they'll all go back into storage together.
yeah. I think mine will probably end up with Toy Fu this year, to be honest, or the
Well,
whole set.
Toy Foo's been quite because you've been quite good with your collections towards Toy Fu and
Yeah.
supporting them with donations and the like, which is always good.
Hmm.
Um, do you? I mean, you must not get a lot of time at shows to spend a lot of money.
No, not really. Typically, like I'm allowed in when the dealers are setting up,
hmm
and I wander around and check out what's there then. And then I think we usually have like maybe half an hour or 15
Yeah.
minutes before the doors open to people to, if there's something you really want, go and grab it.
hmm
But at that point, it's too early to be thinking like, oh, massive money, got to get rid of it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Did you pick anything up this year in particular that you can remember that was like, or was there anything major?
Yeah, I got this really awesome Godzilla commission from
Oh, come
Gareth
on now.
Spencer. I can't remember who it
Gareth
was.
Spencer, yeah, he's a big deal in he's a big wheel down at the Cracker Factory. Um, I know I find it too overwhelming at times, and you forget a lot of times, like when you're like, how much is this? Oh, it's another like 70 quid, and you're like, oh, cool, just grab it, and then you're like, wait a minute, I can't afford that. You're like
Yeah,
walking off,
it
going,
took me
oh
a
shit,
minute to actually remember what I got this year, but I did make a few additions to my smokescreen collection.
I didn't know you had a smoke screens collection.
I do. It's not very big because there aren't much out of smokescreen,
Well,
which
that's a
is
good character to collect for, yeah.
yeah, it's a safe choice. It's like I don't know. I think because you had like the Datsun mold from G1 with the
Mhm.
3 different decos. It's like everybody should have a favorite. It's like the Seekers. It's like
Yeah,
that's the exact same toy, different colors, but everybody's the favorite.
yeah, for
And
sure.
the smokescreen was just always so pretty to me.
Well, who's your favorite seeker though?
Probably Starscream to be boring.
Do you know?
Starscream or Thrust, maybe.
I mean, I do like a I like a bit of thrust, as you know. Um, but yeah, like so, like would you? I mean, we might as well get onto it because we're gonna tackle this the fan favorite question. God damn it! Um,
Okay.
who is your favorite Transformer?
Oh man, I've been trying to whittle it down. It's a long franchise, man, and it's got so many different awesome shows and books and stuff. And
I mean, I could guess.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you could get one of those straight away.
I did have down in my notes Carnivac.
Absolutely, yes. From my childhood days with probably my favorite story that Simon wrote in the UK comic, the
hmm
whole Way of the Warrior survival run.
Yep, it's very cool. Like I recently revisited, and yeah, it's one of those ones where again where you're like, I could maybe show this to someone and not feel
Yeah,
too embarrassed.
yeah. For the context of people who maybe don't get it, it's like Beast Wars Dinobot about 10 years before Beast Wars Dinobot existed. So to like 7-year-old me or whatever, it was like a really affecting story.
hmm
The toy is garbage, I will admit it, but I adore it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I got it a little while back, and I'm like the inner yeah, it's a very cool shell, but like all pretenders, like there's a charm to them, but they are all
Absolutely.
terrible.
Yeah.
But would you is that your favorite then? Are we going with Carnivac?
I would have to give honorable mentions to Rat Trap and Tarantulas as well, but I think it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, this is standard like Beast Wars, Rat
Ye
Trap. Yeah, they're
Yes.
great. To be fair.
The, Beast Wars was the first time a show, Transformers show, really felt like it could be something,
hmm
something a bit more.
Yeah.
I'll always love Beast Wars, and Rat Trap was the hero of it. I won't hear anything about this Dinobot guy or Primal or whatever. You actually watch that show, despite like the rap Rat Trap has.
Mhm.
He's the one who gets everything done, man.
Yeah. But I think that's like the show felt like for me, I'm the same. I was 1982. I was born, so I was like before Transformers really got its claws into me. It was
Mm,
kind of on the decline in terms of I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old by that point. So
yeah,
yeah, it's like Beast Wars was when that came out. It was a brand new kind of fresh start, and it allowed us to sort of go, okay, this is as much as I like the old stuff. This is our new thing,
yeah,
and this is my thing, not like
and
those old bastards.
the way that it drip fed the connections to the old stuff
hmm
in a way that you just can't appreciate these days because like the internet and everything is so immediately accessible.
Yeah.
Like, the
And
first
all,
time when Ravage transformed in that show,
yeah.
that being the first time you heard that noise
hmm
in like 10 years or whatever, 7 or 8 years, it genuinely like, man, it's like a fist pump.
Oh, yeah. And
Oh my
like,
god, they did it, sort of thing.
it's because everything now has to have a connection to something and it can't just be cool on its own. So, like, everything's a reference to something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of like it's the old Star Wars thing of like, oh, Rey has to be the fucking granddaughter of
Yeah.
fucking R2D2 or something like that, and you're like, oh, shut up. No, they don't.
Yeah, man. It's a pet peeve of mine with them. Most legacy movie franchises now, whenever they put
Mm.
out a new thing, they're like, they hold up something that was irrelevant. Like, hey, remember this?
Yeah. Here's how Han Solo got their jacket.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, is that how he got his jacket? Fuck, that's incredible. Always
Like
wanted to
Jurassic
know.
World goes, hey, look, remember the night vision goggles? And Ghostbusters is like, hey, remember Twinkies? And no, it's stop it, please stop it. Just do your own thing.
Yeah. That's it. I don't mind sequels, and I don't like, continuing to do those things that are popular. That's fine. But yeah, give them their own identity. You don't need to be. We all remember it. That's why we're going.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, you don't see anyone standing up and cheering at the sight of a Twinkie.
And with a Twinkies a euphemism for something, I think.
Oh no, see, I don't like that either. I just hate all sexual congress. I'm sorry, I just can't stand it.
You wouldn't think it's work area when you're so well presented and put together.
Well, this is it. A lot of people look at me and say that guy must love sex, but not interested. I just like blockies now. That's all I care about these days. Oh,
It gets your Rockies off, does it?
it does. That's. I'm going to email their marketing department. This is why you're in the creative sphere at TF Nation.
Not because I'm
Um,
reliable and cheap.
that's not on your TF wiki. I mean, the very fact that you've got a TF wiki page,
Yeah, that was at the time when I first heard I had one. I rushed over to give it a read and everything. It's like, wow, amazing. It's
Yeah.
not been touched since your first point of. It's like
But still,
completely.
it's there, and hey, you could update it. That's the power of the wiki. You could go on and say,
I have only enough ego shame to look at it now and then. I don't think I could go and adjust it at any way.
"Oh no, I love the idea of that. Like that's got to be." I wonder if someone put a sneak reference to repugnance in the repugnance article to me, and I don't know
You
if
know?
it's been removed. I imagine someone has sternly taken it off.
I don't know, man. I mean, the McAdam page has still got the few references. So.
Well, yeah, but he's
Who
slightly
knows?
more well known, I would say, ever so slightly well known, maybe a bit more beloved.
Only two of you people.
Look, I want to say thank you very much for giving your time here to the Secret Hot Tub podcast. This is actually delightful for me because we managed to get through all my questions in like just over half an hour, which is exactly what I want this podcast to be.
All that means is I'm terrible at engaging with conversation, though.
No, not at all. This has been a lot of fun. Again, this is exactly what I want, and it's going to be the same in the future. Like no one's getting. I think what I'll do is I'll use this. I'll call it the Ed Pirrie gambit, which is whatever length this episode is. No future episodes will be longer.
The Ed Pirrie gambit, man. Yeah, Marvel's multiverse has just gotten very strange.
What do you think about the current state of because obviously I'm looking at you now on your thing. You've got a ton of comics in the background there. Do you keep up with comics, or are you for someone who like reads all the legacy older stuff and enjoys that, or do you keep up week to week with certain titles?
I only really keep up with like 3 or 4 titles, like on a per release basis.
Okay.
Obviously, I keep up with the Skybound stuff because I'm Transformers addicted.
Yep.
Keep up with the Godzilla for the same reason. But a lot of stuff like the IDW, TMNT, and Sonic stuff, I only really keep up with it as the hardback collections come out.
Okay.
So I'm not up to date. I'm like a year or 2 behind. but it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm basically just doing the Epic collections, and I'll probably dip into some of the DC stuff that's been announced recently. Finest
Oh yeah, they're doing
line,
their own kind of Epic Collection stuff, aren't they?
yeah, and even then, it's only like select characters. I don't follow like publishers. I just follow
Right.
the book.
Yeah, it's
So,
by character. Yeah, I
yeah,
think I'm like the Epic Collections. I have 3, and they're all Submariner ones. So, uh, which is all I need.
I've got about 3 or 4 at the minute on the go. Spider-Man, Hulk, and Fantastic Four are the main ones.
Oh, see, have you been the recent Hulk arc that's been published right now is like super dark and horror based and very grim, and it's
Yeah,
very good and the artwork's fantastic, but it just has the bad luck of coming off the back of Immortal
Immortal.
Hulk.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm like, that may be the best comic run I can think of. Like, I could go back and read that anytime.
Yeah. I only read the first issue of the new Hulk, and then I was like, okay, and now I'll wait for the collections. And
Yeah, it's excellent. It really, really is. And yeah, I say if it wasn't just after one of the best comic runs of all time, it would be. I'd be
yeah, man.
much more excited, but it just happened to come at the wrong time. But going back to those original issues now, I'm very much enjoying reading it again.
Yeah.
Um,
Immortal Hulk was, it did this strange thing where it really embraced like the body horror, and
mhm.
it made these sweeping changes to the mythology and like the Gamma and the Green Door and all that.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic for that story, but I never want to see them do it again.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like it can happen one time. It's like similar to the X-Men doing the Krakoa stuff. Like
Yeah.
I loved that at the time, and still rereading it, I still really think it's a very interesting, cool idea. But I don't want to see that revisited anytime soon.
Yeah, the whole Krakoa thing I've not actually touched yet. I was kind of hoping to wait for it to finish and then go to it, but it
Mhm.
went on so long that it's still quite a daunting idea.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of it, but I mean, for the most part, the main book stuff is excellent. I can't recommend that stuff enough.
Yeah.
Even from an artwork standpoint. Not that you'll be interested in that. God knows.
Who cares what other people look like?
I know. Okay, well, look, I'm going to wrap it up, but thank you, Ed. We're going to get into the 40-minute time. That's the Ed Pirrie Gambit is now fully going to be around, say, 40 minutes.
So thank
Um,
you, Gav.
EPG.
An honor and a privilege. This is
Oh,
the first time second time I've been on a podcast, and the last time I had to actually go to the guy's place to do it. So
oh, fuck that. Like physical podcasting. Like it used to be my bread and butter, but now I'm like, nah.
yeah.
Um, well,
Hopefully
look,
this isn't too boring to listen for your audience.
I'm sure you'll come
Well,
across very well on it. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just put in some funny noises.
yeah, a few fart sounds every now and then.
Can you just say clearly into the mic, "Excuse me," and then we'll just, we'll go from there. Well, wasn't that nice? A sweetheart is Ed Pirrie. I do love that boy. Thank you, Ed. Okay, mailbag time. Okay, so I've just randomized these, so people have sent in their questions to me through Blue Sky, through the Patreon at patreon.com/TRDQ, and by emailing at askrepugnus@gmail.com. First up from Blue Sky is, let's see, rummage around in here. Let's go one from Toybox Soapbox on Blue Sky. Liam from Nottingham asks, what temperature do you keep the hot tub at? Now, I keep the hot tub at a solid 38 degrees, not quite enough to make a human soup, but a comfortable temperature. Liam, why don't you find out by joining me on the podcast one day soon? Edward asked 2 questions via electronic mail, which is greedy, but I'll allow it. How much of your love for Transformers is tied to the purchasing of figures or engaging with media? Do you think you could live with not engaging with one or the other entirely? Yeah, probably. I think, the more that my life changes, I do think that I appreciate certain parts of it more and certain parts of it less. Certainly the toys I've had less interest in over the last couple of years, especially now, like the stuff that's been in the last year of Legacy, the stuff coming up in Age of Primes. A lot of it is cool and great if people enjoy it, but it's not, a lot of it's not for me. There is some stuff in there that I really like the look of, but I think I've dropped off a cliff when it comes to buying the new stuff. I used to, be like, I have that, let's get that whole wave. Not the case anymore. I find myself more interested in the third-party stuff where they're doing something a bit different, or at least interesting. Like those Iron Legion Constructicons or the New Age stuff. That recent take on Blaster Louis is very good, and that keeps me going. For the media side, like Transformers 1 was decent enough. It's good in a way. It was the thing now that you can point at if someone says, I like Transformers, what should I watch? You say, I'll just watch Transformers 1. That'll be fine. You don't have to be like, oh, Beast Wars maybe, if you don't mind it looking awful. And the comics at the moment, I was very much enjoying the Skybound stuff, but it seems to be treading water the last couple of issues, and it's not exciting me to read the next issue anymore. I'm enjoying Void Rivals by Skybound more probably on a month-by-month basis, which is such a shocking thing to have happened that it's quite hard to believe. But I'm not really being blown away by anything right now. I don't know if it's just me. I think living in that more than meets the eye, 2012 through 18, 19 bubble, I think that's kind of over now. I do miss it, but you have to move on, I suppose. That I look at the heyday for me as an adult collector as around that time. More than meets the eye was kicking off, moving into Lost Light. There was, we went through Combiner Wars, Power of the Primes, all that. I was like, that was what that really got to me. That was when I was at the height of my collecting, and now I'm a little bit jaded and older and have different priorities. Anyway, next question. Do you ever think about... Oh, no, I guess your real question was, do you think I could live with not engaging with one or the other collecting toys or the media? I could probably do without the media stuff, knowing that we've had it the best, that nothing will probably reach the heights of what we got with More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light. So yeah, if I have to choose one, I would just collect the toys. Do you ever think about how long you'd be collecting for? How do you keep it fun without going, I'm over it? Okay, well, tying into what I just said about my flagging interest, I'm sure there'll always be something to catch my eye. The good thing about collecting toys is there's so much to choose from, and I like, as long as there's some mad little crap going on in a toy line. If Transformers isn't doing it for me, there's something else. My little cousin-in-law, he has a lot of those Gujitsu toys, and they're cool. I like them a lot. I'm like, maybe I'll get some. A lot of them remind me of He-Man toys. There's always that thing when you realise, in 8 years, you're going to be 50, and do you really want to look down on your desk and see Perceptor staring back at you? And of course, the answer is yes. I think I'll always enjoy toys. I'll always go to the toy aisle first when I go into a supermarket, or if there's a toy shop in a shopping centre, I will always go in and just check out what they have. And if they've got something that's a little bit disgusting or fun, I will probably get it. I hope that's the case. God knows, I don't want to save up for my future or anything. But thanks again for your questions, folks. Please keep them coming. Email askrepugnus@gmail.com, or indeed the other ways that I said earlier. You were listening, you can rewind it, don't worry about it. Check us out on trdq.org, and of course all the Patreon and all that other pish. Oh, who cares, bye.